Welcome to my GIS portfolio video series. My name is Robert Sacco, and since all of my GIS database administration and web development occurs behind a firewall, I thought I would create this video series to display some examples of my work. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate a Visual Basic .NET web application that I developed that I call the Species Data Inventory. And the reason for this application was I was participating in a data committee for the agency, and it was brought to the attention of management that while the GIS unit managed and maintained species data at a statewide level for major data holdings, there were a lot of efforts of biologists collecting data either with GPSs and XY, but some form of GIS type data, but that was being collected at a local level and managed and maintained by those individual biologists. And it was thought I thought I would develop this application to allow those biologists to enter their projects, and then that would allow the staff at large to do a query and see what GIS projects were, or what data is being collected for species across the state, whether it's being collected at a statewide level or even just at a local project level. And so I called it the Species Data Inventory, and there's just a main launching page, and it's a pretty simple application. There's just a few links to the pages that make up this application. The first thing is we want to query by species, and this brings us to a page where there's a simple box and the user can enter a keyword. So say we're looking for deer. So once we type in deer, then we get a list of the actual species, the names that are found in the species table for the database. And once you can locate, we even get a deer mouse and a bird, the killdeer, along with mule deer and white-tailed deer. But say someone wants to see, well, what studies or what data is available for mule deer. So we can click on mule deer, and what we return is first a bulleted list of the listings, conservation listings or other important listings that species found on. So this is a big game animal for us at the formerly the Division of Wildlife, now Colorado Parks and Wildlife, as well as being a species of concern for Colorado House Bill 1298, which deals with oil and gas exploration and wildlife considerations, as well as being a species on this Western Governors Association decision support system, which was again is a region-wide effort to determine critical habitat for various species. But then more importantly, and what the data is designed to do, is provide a listing of all the GIS layers that were collected for mule deer. And so once you see that list, someone may come in and say, well, I'm interested in this. What is this evaluation of winter range and survival? And so they can click on that, and then they get a very simple report, which has the project name, a brief description, and some contact information on who the primary investigator was and how the data is collected. Whether it's points, lines, polygons, or XYs in a spreadsheet. And so then this would allow somebody doing a search like this to be able to, if they were interested in seeing the data, learning more about it, they'd have access to the primary lead on that to either ask more about the data or get a copy of the data. So that in a nutshell is pretty much the primary reason behind this application, and hopefully the benefits that it provides is allowing folks to search various species and get a listing of the GIS data and basically where to find it. Now, what we also did is, in addition to not really knowing what GIS data was collected at a local scale, we also had issues with listings, like people trying to figure out, well, what species is listed, or what list of species occurs on a certain list, and those lists were scattered on various websites and not collected in one place cohesively. So I compiled the database, looked at all those various sources, and made the relationships to the species to generate the listings. And so now in this page, when you come in, you can actually select a listing, and there's various conservation listings and other lists that are of importance to our agency. And so, but say you wanted to get a list of the federally threatened species. So then that returns a list of those species. And as you can see, they are a live link. And so if you want to learn more about that species, so say we want to see more about lynx, well, we return to that page that I had previously displayed, and we get not only is it federally threatened, but it's state endangered, and then it also occurs on several other conservation lists. And again, we can see the GIS data that is available for this, and then if we want to see the details for that GIS data layer, we can come in and grab this report. So that's the listings in a nutshell. We also have a query by keyword, and so the species search focuses on the actual species names that we have in the table and what the researcher or the GIS analyst has entered for that project. But there's also a space where you can enter keywords, and so if you were looking for studies that say maybe weren't maybe just for bald eagle, maybe you wanted to look for all raptors. If raptors occurs in anywhere within any of the fields that the person entering the project had put in, then we'll also return that. So again, so bald eagles, someone had also entered, probably raptor as a keyword, and so then those show up, as well as burrowing owl, and then just generic raptor surveys. So that's just a way to be able to search keywords. And we did this, I think, primarily someone was doing water quality work with invertebrates in this Colorado River Watch. So instead of adding all the invertebrate species individually, we just created this. And so you could also search for invertebrate or benthic flies and organisms, and you'd also be able to see that this study is out there with GIS data. So that's a quick demonstration. Oh, I guess finally, it also has, the pages have an entry mechanism for people to enter their projects. And as you can see, you can kind of hover over and get a kind of a pop-up on describing what kind of information that field is looking for. And as you can see, it's a quick form. Hopefully it's not too much of a burden for staff to fill out with all their other duties, but it asks for a quick project name, description, the keywords that allow for that keyword search, and then what kind of, if it's for one species, multiple species habitat, what the study's focused on, contact information. We also have the ability to enter data from other agencies and other resources, just so that data can be viewed as also available for that species when somebody does a search. Primary investigator. So the primary investigator, different from the contact in that the primary investigator may have been a study or data that it was collected a while ago, maybe by somebody who's since retired, but then that data now resides with somebody else, and so the contact would be who that data resides with, but the investigator was who collected that data originally. And so many people may know about data, like someone who had collected the data, and they may be looking for that data and don't know who has it. So they could also search, and for that investigator's name, it would come back and provide the contact for who has that. Then we quickly collect, begin and end dates for the data collection. Where the study area is, if it's local or statewide or region wide, and then other various aspects on the GIS, whether it's tabular with no XY, it's just some kind of data that's been collected for a species, or various GIS, if it's in a GIS or paper or digital with XY, like a spreadsheet with XY or not XY, that type of information. If it's GIS, whether it's points, lines, polygons, rasters. Then we have collection information, and this allows the user, you can also select more than one if they need to. And we also have, from the database, providing a way to enter a consistent species name, so that, and they can also limit this species list. So it defaults to kind of the most popular, the species that have the most data associated with them is what the default is. And then the user can also come in and retrieve different categories. So if they just want to see amphibians, they can get a list of the amphibians. If they just want to see birds, they can get a list of the birds. And then once they get the appropriate list that they're looking for, they can come in and start adding species. And then they can choose whether they want to submit a record and add another record, in which case the data fields maintain most of the data that they had entered, the contact information and those types of things that might be repeated for another project of theirs, or they can submit the record and just exit the application. So essentially that's my Visual Basic .NET application that I've developed for capturing species data within the agency, and providing a mechanism for staff to enter their data, their GIS projects, as well as search for it. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, and come back for more. Thanks.